We are recording again.
All right, Fire Shrieker. Um, I was looking into my old notes from M13 Block, and I have like a whole page of notes, and all the reviews I read were super positive. I remember playing with it, and it's just insane. Actually, it's not a bomb, but it's a first to third pick, and it will do great things.
Yeah, I'm kind of looking at this guy as a sword. Fire Shrieker is almost as good as a sword.
Almost, yes.
You got a 3-mana artifact that's going to do something very relevant when you equip it to anything.
Yeah, and I imagine equipping this to like 4/4s and stuff. It's quite relevant.
Yeah, and furthermore, you can put it on any. And once again, it's an artifact, so you can throw it in pretty much any deck. The blue-white Flyers deck is going to want this card. The Slivers deck is going to want this card. Any other deck is just going to want this card. And I think, yeah, this is a pretty high pick for me.
Yeah. There were some voices actually here. I'm reading the notes that were skeptical to it, but play experience confirmed that it was very, very good.
Yeah, so this is a bomb, I'd say.
It's close to one at least. It doesn't to qualify as a bomb. I think should like always be good, and there will be situations where you sit around with your Fire Shrieker and no creature, or the creature is still not relevant even with double strike.
Yeah, so I mean that's another drawback to it, is that it does need something else to make it good.
Yes.
So that is really the only drawback to this card that I see.
I agree. What about Wild Ricochet?
Wild Ricochet. Reverberate was not playable, right?
This is interesting because they have tried both these, and they turned out not to be playable in Limited. But now they put them both on one card. So you get to choose the new target, and then you get to copy it.
All right, so what's the best case scenario, I think, is your opponent Doomblades something of yours, and then you get to kill 2 of their things. So it's like a 3-for-1 if it works. The problem is you're requiring your opponent to do something,
and he has to do something that's an instant or sorcery, and some decks might even not have any instants or sorceries.
Yeah. So what happens if your opponent says Ranger's Guiles his own creature, and then you're like, well, this is the only chance I'm going to get to use this Wild Ricochet. Then your Wild Ricochet didn't really do anything.
Exactly. You could, of course, always use it as the worst case on your own spell to copy it.
Yeah, that's going to require you to have the 4 mana for Wild Ricochet and then have your own spell that you're casting.
True.
So if you're playing the black-red deck and you Doomblade your opponent's creature, Wild Ricochet basically just you get to copy the Doomblade. Yeah. And then it would just be better to have another Doomblade in hand instead of a Wild Ricochet.
Yeah, but you probably have all the Doomblades you could draft ever in the deck already.
Yeah.
So getting one more is not a bad thing.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's 2 mana intensive and almost too situational.
Of course, it requires you to keep 4 mana open, which is
that's the other thing.
Instead
of like casting a 6-drop, you're saving up your 4 mana for a Wild Ricochet. I don't particularly like this. I don't think I'm going to take this very highly.
I don't know. At some point, a spell like this will become playable and even good. So jamming the 2 effects into one spell, I think this is better than Spell Twine. It's better than the copy spell from M13. But is it good enough?
I guess the other point is that it's going to cost double red, so you're not going to be able to splash this card. And do red decks really want this effect?
That's a good question.
I don't think red decks really are going to want this effect.
It feels kind of blue.
Yes, it definitely feels like a counterspell, and then, but I mean, the upside on this is very, very good. The mediocre side of this is very, very bad. where it just sits in your hand dead, waiting for your opponent to cast something.
And in the end, you'll probably just be happier if you have a creature.
Yep, that's what I'm thinking. So I'm putting this pretty low pick for me at 7th to 9th.
7th to 9th is still is it 23rd card level. And
I
maybe
think
that's where...
I think it could be a 23rd card.
And maybe that's where we have to put it while we evaluate it, because I think this should definitely be played and see if it works or not. It's hard to judge it.
Yep. All right. So, I guess we'll move on to Bramble Crush.
This is a new name for this card.
No, this card was printed in Scars, I think.
It probably was a new name then. I'm just ancient.
Yeah, I know I played a deck with Bramble Crush in it.
What do you think of it?
It's okay. I guess you can destroy pesky enchantments, or I don't really know where to rate this card for limited purposes, though. Like, I liked it in my land destruction based deck, but Bramble Crush is, I mean, it's sort of like a catch-all to everything that's not a creature. And
It's
green
actually
usually has,
the best land destruction spell printed in a long time.
yeah, it's pretty good. It's still 4 mana, and maybe you blow up one of their lands and you just tempo the heck out of them. So maybe this card is playable. I don't know from a limited perspective how playable this card is, though.
I have to remember what the card was called before, because I think I played this card in core set under its old name. But I'll have to look that up. What do you think? Where do we rate it?
I think this is a 23rd card.
Yeah,
Like,
so 7th and 9th.
Yeah, I mean, I played Naturalize in some Return to Ravnica decks just because the Return to Ravnica block was so... You almost always had a target for Naturalize. And I think this is sort of like a Naturalize. It's a bit more expensive, but less situational. You can Naturalize anything.
Being able to hit lands is a huge upside. Because you could end up, maybe 10-15% of games, you can destroy that one land of one color and sort of ride the wave.
Yeah. So, yeah, 7th to 9th, that's a 23rd card, I think.
Yep, makes sense. This is another old card.
Howl of the Night Pack. Yeah, that's a reprint. I remember seeing that.
From Magic 2010.
So this sort of feels like what is the spider spawning from Innistrad?
And that was quite good, wasn't it?
Yeah. So the problem with Hunger of the Howl Pack, or Howl of the Night Pack rather, is let's see here, for 7 mana, you're probably going to get 4 wolves, which is pretty good.
Yes.
8 power over 4 bodies. I'm just saying on average 4.
Or 3 wolves, in which case it sucks.
Yeah, if you get 3 wolves for 7, I mean, it's still spread out over 3 bodies, which could be okay. Can provide you some chump blockers. My biggest problem with it is it's 7 mana. I don't like 7 mana things in limited in general. And for something that, I mean, these guys are going to stabilize the board if you cast them.
Unless there is evasion happening.
Yeah. Gotta sort of look at this like Tristani Summoner, though. And Tristani Summoner's a pretty sweet card in limited and Return to Ravnica block.
But that was guaranteed 10 power, was it? 8?
Yeah, Tristani Summoner was 4/4 Rhino, 3/3 Centaur. No, Tristani Summoner was 10 power for 7 mana.
But maybe if you're playing a 10 forest, 7 mountain deck, then this becomes a lot better.
Yeah, then you get 5 2/2 wolves, and then it's 10 power for 7 mana, which is pretty good. So I actually like this card quite a bit. I'm gonna rate it, I think, 4th to 6th.